First of all, Happy New Year. Today in Utrecht, all cultural institutions are celebrating the New Year. Would like to wish all of you that it's a happy and successful one, the best ever. I already have a couple of indications that it's gonna be just business as usual, hopefully a normal year. One of those is that the trains between Amsterdam and Utrecht are not running. It's pretty normal, we're used to that, but lots of people phoned in panic from Amsterdam like, oh, I want to come, could you wait? So try to push a start of the afternoon as late as we could, but I think we cannot afford have you waiting any longer. Second of those indications of the year as normal, hopefully, or better, is that we published this wonderful book of
it's a Christmas present.
of a World Question Center. Yeah, it's a late Christmas present. The truth is we're going to rebind the book. That's about business as usual. Because at the last moment of the production, something simply went wrong and it doesn't sit comfortable in the jacket, probably as I don't anymore. However, what this book refers to is a performance we did 2 years ago, exactly on 1st of November 2003. We were opening the first ever large project in the history of BAK, called Now What? Dreaming a Better World in 6 parts. It was a project that was inspired by the feeling of sentiment of disillusion we were kind of sensing in the society. That was related to collapse of economic dream, collapse of possibility of global democracy after the 90s, or in comparison to the 90s when we all believed the wall fell down and everything's kind of possible. The economy was booming in the 90s. In contrast to 2003, the possibility of global mobility was kind of disappearing behind the horizon. We thought we would like to address this sentiment of disillusionment in society. And we posed this very basic question, now what? And invited 6 curators to develop 6 parts of the project. Some of them presented exhibitions, some of them presented series of talks. There was another book that we published, a book with artists' writings at the time. One of the curators we invited in 2003 to participate in the project now was Jens Hofmann, who brought up this idea of let's look at the work of late American artist James Lee Byers, and in particular at his project World Question Center, that he for the first time staged in 1969 in Brussels. The idea behind this project was put together a list of 100 most brilliant minds around the world of the year 1969. And originally he wanted to bring all these people in one room together and have them ask questions they were asking themselves. Well, it's an impossible task in 1969 to bring all these people together. So what he decided, in a one-day performance, he would be phoning people on his list of brilliant minds and asking question, is there a question you want to ask us? We thought 1969 work of James Lee Byers was a very interesting document of his times. And the idea that Jens brought about was, what would such a document look like more than 30 years later? That was the first dilemma we faced when we were trying to put the list of 100 brilliant minds down together. How do we dare to say this person is more brilliant than the other? How do we dare to single out just 100 names?
We do all the time as curators. As curators, this is what we do all the time, singling out people. Anyway.
We didn't dare at the time.
You have sampled Royal once.
Yeah, we did. However, we found a very democratic solution. We invited all artists and curators and writers who were at the time involved in the whole project Now What, so in all 6 parts, to send us a name or two of those whom they consider to be their brilliant minds. And this way we collected around 102 names around, because some things were strange, such as, shouldn't I say those things?
No, of course. A nice anecdote for that.
However, we managed, we contacted these 102 people and asked them would they be interested to participate in a performance on the 1st of November. We didn't tell them what we would be asking. We didn't make a reference to James Lee Byers because we thought the moment of surprise is a crucial moment also for the performance as such. We informed them there would be a public performance, that we would be phoning, and in a public situation we would be conducting a short interview. Not everybody of those 102 people we contacted agreed. We had around 70 people who gave consent to a public conversation. And we had a 4-hour time to conduct the performance, and we managed to speak to 35 people. Now, it was enormously exciting moment for us. There were really quite interesting conversations. For those of you who are interested, you can still consult the recording of the performance downstairs. There were wonderful moments such as trying to get Martha Rosler somewhere at the airport in Frankfurt, and a person at the telephone call center willing to find her at the airport for us. I remember I was speaking to the person at the call center, and I was trying to get through, and she wouldn't collaborate with me until Jens, with his male authoritarian voice, would say, "This is the World Question Center for me. I'll connect you, madam." And she did. She found Martha Rosler on a terminal just before she she boarded the plane. There were moments that you don't find in the book because we didn't dare. There was a moment when we found famous Robert Wilson, and we wouldn't get him online. Only his third assistant, and his third assistant would say Robert Wilson was busy for the first time. Then we would phone for half an hour later. Then his third assistant would say, I'm really sorry, he's ill, he had to walk away. But then you hear Robert Wilson on the background saying, all the people from Utrecht again, tell them I'm ill. And the audience registering all these things, but we didn't dare to put these things in the book. So what you find here is a list of questions we collected from those 35 people, but excerpts of the conversations we had over the phone. Some people we would phone and wouldn't wait for us posing a question. I would start the whole lecture. That was the case with sociologist Manuel de Landa, or philosopher Jacques Rancière, or writer Hakim Bey. So what you would see is a long lecture Jacques Rancière would give, which were actually thoughts that appeared in his last book, published something less than a year ago, for example. And we try to put those things together, just to prove that conversations we had 2 years ago actually managed to get more and more actual in relation to what's been happening in contemporary art and in contemporary politics. And what I wrote in the introduction to the book, these conversations, so in the very beginning of our work at BAK, remain a source of inspiration and a kind of belief things are in a way possible. And if I should summarize what this performance meant for us and why we decided to publish a book 2 years later, was probably what Rosi Braidotti, a famous feminist writer, who by the way does live around the corner in Utrecht, I'm proudly saying that. She actually asked, the question she posed was, what can we do together to insert some hope in the general horizon of the world today? To return to my introduction, if I believe this book or the performance as such, is a document of our time. It is, in some strange but inspiring way, a document of hope. I do hope you enjoy it. If you put down your address, we'll be happy to send this book to all of you once readbound. And one another important moment. Luce Irigaray, the French philosopher, posed this very, very important question, which stayed kind of floating throughout the whole performance that I remembered. She couldn't understand for a long time during the conversation. You want a question, you want a question. How come you want a question? We thought it was a matter of language because her English was not so perfect. But at a certain point in her, or during that conversation, she said, or during that telephone exchange, she said, "You want me to pose a question without us having a conversation?" And this was something quite crucial, why we decided, well, maybe if we one day publish a book, we create a situation for a conversation. And we brought in 3 brilliant minds in the world now. Jens Hofmann, curator and director of exhibitions at ICA Institute for Contemporary Art in London, and 2 artists, Ulay, living and working from Amsterdam, and Tino Segal from Berlin. And as for this afternoon, I hope we managed to create informal conversation amongst all of us. But to start with, I would like to offer a floor to all 3 of them with a kind of carte blanche. The only thing I would like to ask, in a very manner of James Lee Byers, as I understand it, is what's on your mind, what's pressing on your mind at this moment, and what doesn't let you sleep, so to speak.